Come on to learn and grow. Welcome to the Village Talk Show. Come on to learn and grow. Welcome to the Village Talk Show. We discuss what people need to know, empowering them to learn and grow. We discuss what people need to know, empowering them to learn and grow. Give praises to Jehovah, from whom all blessing and knowledge will flow. Blessing and knowledge will flow. The Village Talk Show, dedicating to empowering the community to live a healthy, safe, and financially capable life, helping each one of us in realizing our dream at any age, any point, starting from today. Success. Come on to learn and grow. Welcome to the Village Talk Show. Come on to learn and grow. Welcome to the Village Talk Show. We discuss what people need to know, empowering them to learn and grow. We discuss what people need to know, empowering them to learn and grow. Success is not spoken, it is done. Success is done. Come on now. The Village Talk Show. Talk Show. The Village Talk Show.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Village. Nice
Welcome.
each and every. All right, nice to have each and every you here. John, it looked like you and I are both stuck in the car, huh?
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Oh, she's not stuck in the car. Hyper Dan over there.
Really?
I think this might be somebody here to let me.
What's good?
Andre, what's going on? Andre, you on air. What's going on? What's up?
Yeah.
I'm trying to stay on for a little bit. Give some comfort to everybody,
Okay. Andre, you're the boss. You need to talk to the big boss. So I'm not sitting outside the studio. But, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining us on the Village Radio Talk Show here each and every Thursday. It is a pleasure to have you, where we're dedicated to empowering the community to live a healthy, safe, and financially capable life through education, helping each one of us in realizing our dreams at any age, at any point, starting from today. What are you doing to be successful? Also want to know that each and every day that that all of us here at the Village give thanks to God for giving us that time that we're able to spend with you to celebrate life, to celebrate the village, to celebrate the good things in society. So I'm going to just start off and wish everybody, first and foremost, all the women in my life, Dr. Bryant, Sophia Willisey, my wife, my mother, my family, all the people who work with me, all the women who work with me at the executive board, that you are women history. So I just want to say happy Women's History Month to all of my women out there who are making a difference in society and making a difference on the village. So happy Women's Month to all of you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And we appreciate that.
Thank you, Roger. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Sampson, I remember that, sir.
So how are you guys doing today? First of all, I'm excited that Andre's on with us. He's joining us. So I'm very, very excited. The next person who we waiting on is our producer, Sophia. One day she'll join us, and it'll be all of us together. One big happy
Together.
Yeah.
Dr. Bryant, we won't even need a guest. We just have them all five of us right here just sitting down and chatting, right?
Oh man, it's funny, man. You know, producers usually stay in the back and deal with all of the things. So, you know, if I have to step out, I step out.
We know, but you could be you're not just a producer, you're the executive producer. Sometimes you listen, first and foremost, Quentin Tarantino is the producer, the director, and the main actor. Tyler Perry is another example. Ken Singleton is another example. Spike Lee is another example. Should I continue with the list? Mel Brooks
No,
was another
no,
example.
you're giving that history already. Let's go.
All right, so I'm just saying, like, you could be on air too. So let's. Oh, also before I forget, I want to wish happy birthday to my son.
You know what? I want to wish happy birthday to my brother. Today's his birthday.
Yeah, my son's birthday is tomorrow, and the twins. Happy birthday to them on Monday. How old your brother turning? Older or younger brother?
Younger brother.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
Happy birthday to all. That's
Yeah,
it.
you know, but also with birth, we also have deaths. I want to extend the condolences to my friend Glenn. He lost his sister this last week, and Musa Sampras lost his brother. I'm calling him Sampras. Sampson, Dr. Sampson. He lost his brother earlier this week.
Who, Musa?
Condolences. Yeah, Musa. Yeah, lost his brother.
Condolences, definitely.
Yeah, so that's that. So you know, I think I want to start off with that idiot. I'm call him an idiot, not because he's an idiot intellectually, but the term when we use the slang definition of the word idiot, John Morant. Right? You know, a lot of times I find, and this happens a lot, right? That a lot of these athletes, all of these people, they don't get it. Like that, unfortunately, that young man at the end of last year, the singer, the rapper who got killed over a dice game that he wasn't even involved in, but he's hanging out with the wrong company. We have
I don't think hanging out with the wrong company. No, had nothing to do.
It's definitely the wrong company. It's the wrong company.
He wasn't hanging out with the wrong company.
Yeah.
There was an incident that happened. He was in the vicinity of where another incident transpired, and that person pulled out a gun and shot randomly. They didn't shoot at him.
But
so don't get the facts. Get the facts straight.
It's still the wrong company, John.
It's not the
wrong place, wrong time.
Is this Morant?
Wrong company, Roger.
Right? You know, it's you know,
place. That's what you mean. Wrong place.
Well, wrong place, wrong time. Right?
Not with the wrong company. So correct that, brother, please. Don't be like Fox News now.
I'm gonna be like Fox News, but
no.
John Morant. I'm glad that the Colorado police said today they're not pressing charges against John Morant. But my thing, John, right? My thing, John, when you know, when I look at it, he's scheduled to negotiate at minimum 231 million, right? 231 million over 5 years, right? Over 5 years, 231 million, right? And so if I'm doing my quick math, right, that's about 48 million a year, almost 46.
What happened to your camera, Roger?
Oh, right. About 46 million a year.
Right.
And his current salary, I don't know what it is, but it's a lot. With endorsements and everything that he's doing at 23 years old, we know he's pulling more than 10 million a year. You're telling me you can't hire 4 off-duty police officers who's allowed to carry their guns, right, anywhere around the world, not around the world, but around the United States, and pick up their gun and carry it from the airport, but they can't carry it on the plane. But they can carry it around. They can carry it, bring it on the plane. In their luggage, right? In their luggage, they can't carry it on their person. At $50,000-$60,000 a year, so you don't have to carry a gun. You don't have to carry a gun, but you know you're protected. I'm just
Roderick, it's true. I agree with you with respect to Ja Morant, but you can tell, I look at, sometimes you got to look at the family, right? And I look at his father. His father's very instrumental. And his father should be a little bit more, instead of being, his friend or whatever, he needs to be his father, and really teach him about just sort of professionalism. What bothered me was when his father got into that whole incident with Sterling Sharp I think they were in when they were playing the Lakers. There's no need, something like that. His father should be more responsible, say, hey, cool heads prevail, everybody back off, let's just resolve this. You know what, we are all adults here. We don't need to engage in any activities like that. But his father being in the mix of everything, that's the mentality that this young man is replicating, his father. So his father should really take a strong hold of this young man and making sure that his homeboys who are not about anything are not around him. The whole point is this, you know what? Why do ball players want to be gangsters? But the gangsters want to be the ball players. And once they're once they're making like money like that, them gangsters don't want to go back. So it's just, the saying is, you're known by the company that you keep. But I hope this is an example early on that sets him straight, because there are a lot of young ball players who came in, basketball, football, baseball, they got involved with the wrong crowd, and the next thing you know, they lost everything or they got locked up. Like that young guy from he just got out of jail. He spent 10 years. He was a wide receiver for Chicago Bears. Something with trying to be a drug dealer. Why am I trying to be a drug dealer when I'm only making hundreds of thousands of dollars? So I don't understand why these
you're being a dealer, right? You're trying to make the money that you're trying to make that you're already making, right?
So
Is that Roger?
Yeah, that was his thing. So Roger, when you get inside, and
So it's just the mindset of these young ball players, which they're a lot of money, they make a lot of money, and they feel that they're invincible until they get knocked down. And hopefully this was an opportunity for this young man to get knocked down a notch and realize what's going on.
I mean, it's possible to, because going to a higher level requires you to sacrifice some people that that you hang with, in a sense. And so is that difficulty to really just like not necessarily let them go and say, yo, man, I'll talk to you again, but more so you have to change the environment. It's like birds of a feather flock together, right? So you get to a position and you recognize, well, this might bring me down a little bit. I can't afford to be taken down, so I gotta really be more mindful where I'm going. But they're still my homie, but I'm also in a position where I have to secure myself.
You know what the best example is? I look at LeBron James and what LeBron James did for all those young men who grew up with him, were around him, and he understood that I'm going to put y'all guys in a position where you are going to be able to support yourself, support your family for the rest of your life. You had hanger-ons, but you know what he said? Hey, you go to school, you become the accountant, you become the lawyer. We create we create our conglomerate, create our corporation, and everybody can feed off of one individual. You know, but the people that jar around are their mentality is still in the street. Instead of saying, the minute he wants to engage in something like that, yo, you can't gate. The guys who are the gangsters in the street are his friends. They should be preventing him from even getting involved in the streets.
Right. And Kareem mentioned, John, I agree completely. Jay's father is a fan when he needed to be a father. So
Exactly.
Best friend. Like the parent best friend.
Friend will tell you, like you just mentioned, John, a true father, a true family member will tell you when, hey, you know what? Why are you going down this road? You have no business stepping down this area. So that is critical.
And the problem is, and you're right, dog. He ain't about that life. He is not about that life.
Right.
He ain't about that life. There's two people who are in the street, who are gangsters, who understand the consequences of their actions, and they're willing to deal with those consequences and take it like a man or a woman. Because a lot of these young kids, they talk about how strong they are, how much integrity they have. But once they get arrested by the police or the feds, they squeal like pigs.
All right.
What a way to you think you're the great one, you think you're the bad one until you meet the bad one, and then you realize, oh man, you realize a different skill.
So now that you just said that, let's think about Fox, right? Fox mentioned they were all behind Trump, spewing back and forth that it was a conspiracy, hey, fraudulent activity. So now that they're getting sued, it's a different story.
What do they always say, Doc? What's done in the dark comes out in the light. And this is what happened to Fox News. They are networks that's full of shit. Excuse the expression.
How much money that you have in the jar now?
That's what they are. The Tucker Carlson, the biggest white supremacist, the biggest spread of conspiracy theories around, says, oh, Trump is full. I can't stand Trump. But every single night you're kissing his behind. And the way they're getting away with, Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, and Tucker Carlson, that's the opinion side. No, it is not. That opinion is adopted by the news side. And Rupert Murdoch said it's all about the green. It's all they're worried about losing their status. There's no integrity. Fox News has zero integrity. It's about the money. But you know what? But it's a shame that the people, their listeners, lack the ability to see, to discern what is truth or what is a falsehood. And they were espousing falsehoods, which led to that riot on January 6th. And for Tucker Carlson to even do a story about how January 6th isn't exactly what everyone saw. We saw with our own eyes. It was not a peaceful demonstration. That's why I have no, I listen to Fox News because I always listen because I want to know how other people are thinking. But I've lost all respect. They are not a full of integrity. They're not.
Yeah,
accept it for what it is.
It's not even, but you have to understand though, John. Even though we don't look at,
I can't hear you, Roger.
I'm not loud enough. Can you hear me?
Turn off the speaker on the thing.
Turn off what?
The volume. Either to turn off the volume on the board or press that button on the for the mic.
And for all our listeners, good evening, and welcome to another night. So our guest on, gotta fix your mic. Our guest will be coming on shortly, but finish fixing up your.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
there's a button on the right side too. So there's two of those buttons. So you just press the one on the left, press the one on the right.
Good evening, Horace. Where have
How
you
about
been?
now?
Yeah, it's still low. So maybe it's on the board. We have to turn up the board.
I did that. The board is up. The mic is up. The thing is up. I'm not sure.
All right, use the other mic.
All right. How about now?
That's the one that don't work.
Maybe you have to press the button back again for
Since
that.
we are experiencing
Yes.
technical difficulties,
Yes.
we will continue with our discussion about integrity when it comes to the reporting of news.
No, you
So-
know what?
Yeah.
Our-
Can you hear me?
We
Still
can hear
low.
you, but you know what? You still have me in the studio, and I'm not in the studio with you. But
All right,
let's
that's fine because I thought I deleted you.
What's good,
I
Horace?
thought I canceled you, but I guess I didn't.
Horace.
But wait, before I say anything else, I want to say, Simone, I haven't seen you in a couple of weeks. I'm just glad to see you. Monet, I know you're online. Kareem, we haven't seen you in a hot minute. Thank you for commenting and welcome back. Monet, Horace.
Big Mo.
Yeah, I didn't see you last week. You know, one of the things you got to think about with Fox, like we're MSNBC, right? We're MSNBC, we're Fox, right? We're CNN, or you are, what's that, News Nation, the new one, right?
Newsmax.
Yeah. So the issue is that for each of us, there's an audience, right? And it's like what I say to my wife on a regular basis. Whatever you say, there's a truth, but there's an elaboration or an exaggeration or a built up on what the psyche of a person. So it's funny, right? Today, while at the doctor's office, and this is what Fox News is. I was at the doctor's office today, and you know, 2 Americans got killed in Mexico, right? The cartel that got kidnapped and they got killed, right? Of course, they're Americans, so America has to highlight the news. You know what she looked at me and said? She said, I'm not going to go to Mexico because I'm going to get kidnapped. So I said, where the hell do you live? She lives in Bushwick. So I said, you know, but I'm having this is a real conversation I'm having. I'm like, you know, a 19-year-old kid was just stabbed to death. You know, and I'm saying, I mean, I didn't say all of it, but I'm like, you know, there are more people who get killed in Brooklyn than the 2 people who got killed in Mexico. Oh, I'm not going to Mexico.
Horace, I'm sorry, Roderick, your mic.
Yeah, what about it? You still can hear me?
Yeah, barely hear you. That's what it says. You're being picked up on another mic somewhere in the studio.
Oh, you know what? Maybe I did. Let me see something. Hold on. Let me do this. Let's first pause.
In the meantime,
how about now?
Still the same.
All right. So I'm not sure what's going on.
And you have 2 mics in front of you, so you probably have to put one aside. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry for the technical difficulties. Andre's not in the studio. Roderick is there alone. So that's what we have.
Yeah, no, it's my fault, right?
It is your fault.
All right. How about now?
Still the same. Something's off.
So it's the mic. It's something in here because I've tried all 3 mics. I've pressed the button.
All right.
Right. So
let's go straight into commercials so we can have our guests on.
All right, so we're brought to you by the Single Parent University. I thought somebody else was going to do the commercial since my mic is not working.
Course curriculum, personal development, mindful parenting, support seminar, financial management, nutrition, and wellness. So, you know what? The Single Parent University is a great place for people to join. So, there's 3 sessions: childcare, transportation, social support hub, resume and cover letters, career exploration, legal assistance. And if you are interested in joining the Single Parents University, please call 646-779-77, or You could text SPU to 71441. Again, if you would like to join the Single Parents University, please call 646-779-6767 or text SPU to 71441. Thank you. All right. Okay.
So, Doc, are we ready for our special guest tonight?
We are. Hello, Dr. Pierre. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, how are you? Thanks for having me. It's great to be
Thank
here.
you, thank you, Doc. How are you, Doc?
Can't complain. Doing well.
All right, I know you're doing well. Definitely, you're on the village. Of course, you're doing well.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, can you introduce yourself to our listeners this evening?
Sure. So my name is Errol Pierre. I am a college professor. I teach health economics at 3 different schools in New York City. I'm also a health executive. I work at one of the largest health plans in New York State. And I also am now an author. And I just wrote a book called The Way Up, Climbing the Corporate Mountain as a Professional of Color. It came out in December. It was published by Wiley. And I've been talking about all the nuggets that's been in it for the past couple of months.
Nice. So you're wearing multiple hats.
A lot of hats, like a typical Caribbean man. A lot of hats.
Oh, so where are you from?
Well, both my parents are from Haiti. I grew up in America, but both my parents grew up in Haiti.
All right, okay. So born in Haiti.
I grew up in New York. Both my parents grew up in Haiti.
Okay. So what led you to the life of? Tell us your story, because I'm not gonna tell it. So you will share with our listeners your wonderful beginnings, because I find that very fascinating.
Sure. So I observed my parents came to America in the late 60s, early 70s. So around 1969, my dad came, and then my mom came a couple years later. And they were very much like a lot of immigrants. They were very much focused on hard work, discipline, keeping your head down, not making noise, and
Right.
trying to do what's best for their family to put a roof over their head.
Right.
So there were so many lessons I saw that they never said explicitly out loud, but I just observed it, of working hard, having tenacity, never giving up, and this really big emphasis on education. So I knew that I had to have good grades, because if I didn't, I'd get in trouble when I came home. And I knew that, just learning to work hard from them, because my dad had 5-6 jobs. He was working full-time at a nursing home. Then on the side, he was cleaning houses. He was delivering things. He always was doing something. And so I just learned that tenacity and that selflessness, because he obviously gave up a lot of what he wanted to do to put a roof over our head. So that's the backdrop I had as a child, and just knowing that I had to work really, really hard. So that turned into me working in a warehouse for a beauty supply store. When I was 15, I got my first job trying to make money. And just like I saw my dad work hard, I also worked very hard in the warehouse. It was a beauty supply store. So I actually, because I'm kind of nerdy, I actually would read the bottles of all the boxes I put away. And one day I came into the actual beauty salon to deliver the boxes, and the owner of the store said, "Oh, I'm looking for this special shampoo." And I knew I had that shampoo in the truck, because I would unload the truck and load the truck with the driver. And I said, "Oh, we have it. We have that bottle. I have it. Like, let me run out to the truck and get it." And he was so perplexed at why this young Black guy knew what very expensive shampoo bottle he was talking about. And he's like, "How did you know that?" I was like, "Well, when we're in the warehouse and I get bored, I read the bottles, so I know what all the bottles do." And so he was very impressed with that. And that's how I moved from the warehouse to the front house. Because he's like, if you know the product, you can be in the front. And
But-
so, go ahead.
Wait, 15, they had you working in a warehouse? Isn't that illegal?
Don't tell me. I was getting paid under the books.
Because that's all I kept
Uh,
thinking about. Like,
Yeah.
As far as I know, at 15, that's legal age to work. If you
Hey,
was
there you
working
go.
now,
in a
it
warehouse,
was,
not in a warehouse, not
of
in a
course, it's
warehouse. There's
legal to
certain
work
places
anywhere as
you
long
cannot
as you're
wait.
age.
Oh, no,
It's
no,
not where you work; it's the time that you work.
15 years old, you're not supposed to be in a warehouse. There's certain areas.
I don't know where you heard that from.
Well, don't tell anyone.
Yeah, just in case it's illegal, don't say nothing.
There you go. Yeah.
Because my 15-year-old is going to be Listen, my 15-year-old is going to be working in a basement if he has to. I don't care.
there you go. But it was the work ethic that really I learned from my parents. And so this was maybe when I was closer to 18 when they moved me to the front. And that's when I started managing the register and I started managing the customers. And I actually ended up meeting a woman who was like, tell me about yourself. Is this all that you do? And I didn't know who she was. And I told her, no, I do this part-time. At this point, I had just started going to college at Fordham University. So I was freshman, sophomore. So I was probably 19 at the time. And so she's like, send me your resume. Sent her my resume. And lo and behold, this woman who was watching me in this beauty salon that I worked at was the chief operating officer of Empire Blue Cross Blue Shield, the largest health insurance plan in New York. And so once she got my resume, she brought me in. And that's how I started my career in healthcare because she hired me as an intern during the summer months at Empire Blue Cross Blue Shield because she saw me at the beauty supply store working there. And so that's really my story of how I got into healthcare.
What were you studying during that time?
I was a business administration. So I was a finance major at Fordham. I went to Fordham University undergrad. So in the book, I talk about how shampoo saved my life because I went from working in the warehouse to working in the front office, all because I went above and beyond. And then when I was in the front, I sort of got discovered by this woman who I had no idea who she was. And then she asked me for my resume and I got my first internship at Empire Blue Cross Blue Shield. And so that just told me the lesson is like you're always interviewing for your next position. And so you should always be thinking about how you present yourself because you never know who's watching. Someone's always watching you. Someone always has an opportunity for you.
You're so right. Can you just mention? Can you hold on, Roger? The importance of internship at a young age. Can you explain that to parents and to young people why it's important to do internships?
Yeah. So internships are literally your gateway to fulfilling your career for two reasons. One is sometimes you think you know what you want to do, but you're not sure. So there's kids who might say, oh, I want to be an attorney, but they never worked inside of a law firm. That internship gives you exposure so you find out if you like it or not. If you get an internship and you find out you don't like it, that's actually a gift too. That's a treasure because now you know you don't like something at a young age, you can pivot and maybe have a different major or do a different job. So internships are so invaluable. The second reason is office etiquette. So again, my parents were blue collar. They could not tell me about corporate America, white collar jobs, how to act in an office. They never had those jobs. So internships was like my first foray into learning how to wake up in time, showing up to a big skyscraper in New York City, how to operate in an office, sit at a cubicle, how to speak and your mannerisms for office meetings. You want to get that all out of the way before it's full time. You don't want to enter the workforce as an adult and never had that experience before.
Soft skills. That's, I was having a discussion today about the importance of teaching young folks about soft skills.
Yep.
It's great to learn the hard skills, but the soft skills is exactly what you need to move forward.
Absolutely.
Leadership skills.
Yeah. And what tends to happen with Black kids, Caribbean kids, immigrant kids is they concentrate too much on the hard skills.
There you go.
And not enough on emotional intelligence, making eye contact, how to carry yourself, how to speak, what clothes you wear inside the office place. And so the soft skills are just as important. It's
a very good point. One of the things I like to always draw analogies, right? And I say to somebody, sometimes we're so focused, so I would say, I have this car, right? and I don't have the car because it's this car, but I have the car because I have heated seats. I have the car because you have night blurriness deferment in the car, so you're not obstructed by the headlights coming on. It has these little things that make the car move and make me feel comfortable in the car. Bringing that back to the business, it's not the punctuality, like, that's or come to work, right? Those things, if you're on time, you come to work, you might still keep, you're still getting fired, and then you'll say, "Oh, but I come to work every day." It's how you dress, how do you speak to somebody, um, for a woman, are you showing cleavage? For a guy, you're showing your butt crack, right? Your pants is below your waist. Sometimes we think that everything that we do, people should accept, and they don't understand that you should not. That everything's not. I don't care what you tell me. I'm not going to accept everything. I'm not going to tell you why I'm terminating you. But it's those little soft things, those small things, that which makes you feel uncomfortable, that makes you sometimes lose. Or you miss the promotion.
Yep.
Yeah, when you think you deserve it, when you might, but those soft skills will affect you from getting them.
Yeah, 100%.
I have a question for you. Just recently, there was an article that came out in CUNY that many of the kids are unprepared for school and they're taking remedial classes. Do you find that to be something that you're coming across, and how do you address that as a
Yeah, I can tell you that the pandemic, and this is probably the unwritten story that happened because of the pandemic, has set back our children by years. Uh, if you look at second graders who started their first schooling in kindergarten in the middle of the pandemic, they are socially not at the same level as kids that were seeing each other in person. Simple things like how to tie a shoe, how to read an analog clock, how to have rapport with another human being, how to share, because they've been isolated by themselves. So that's little kids. If you think about college kids, uh, leaving high school, going into college, and for the past 2 years, everything's been virtual. They've literally been on screens for way too long. So they have this sort of a technology-induced ADHD where they consistently need stimuli to keep their attention because they're so used to the TikTok, the Instagram, the Facebook. They consistently need like stimulus. So I could be in a class for 2 hours, and after 20 minutes, I've lost their attention of the students. And I've never seen it that bad, but I think it got worse during the pandemic when they had to look at screens all day. At least when you're in person, you're not looking at a computer screen. You're looking at another teacher. You're looking at your classmates. You're talking to your classmates. So there's a lot of learning skills that got eroded, and we now have more remedial students because of the pandemic. And we have to think about the study skills to get them back to where they need to be. I absolutely see it as an issue. One of the ways to sort of, I guess, reduce that issue is forcing students to do more group activities, forcing them to talk to each other. What's happening now is there's 8 million people in New York City, and you sit next to someone, you don't talk to them, you're in your phone, as opposed to turning over and saying to someone, introducing yourself to someone new. The crazy thing that's happening is I have students in my class, they don't know each other, but they'll spend time on their phone talking to some stranger that's not in front of them in the room. And I think the pandemic exacerbated that.
Hmm.
How about the fact that they might be in the same class texting each other?
That too.
So
Yeah.
which we don't, my kids are sitting in the car, texting each other, talking to each other on the phone, interacting on the phone as opposed to in person. I mean, they are in person, but they're interacting technologically.
Yeah.
Which makes no sense to me.
Yeah. The craziest thing to me, and I'm sure you saw in the news, the CEO of TikTok, who's overseas, I believe in China, was like, I wouldn't let my kids use it. And no,
Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
right.
yes.
Or he limits the opportunity for his children
To use the own product that he sells.
yes,
And
that
he's
he's
like,
made billions of dollars off.
absolutely.
Right.
And he's like, I wouldn't put any child under 12 on TikTok. So
but
that's
they're promoting
the
it. Yeah.
CEO of the company, right? And those are our children that are addicted to it.
So all about the money and not about that addiction.
Yeah. Yeah. The last thing I'll say on that too is we used to go to the Dewey Decimal System, and I got some sirens. I'm in Bed-Stuy, so I apologize if you hear the sirens.
I'm just,
New York City, baby.
I'm just, by the way, I'm just complaining about coming from that place.
So we used to use the Dewey Decimal System to write book reports. We would go to the library, search for the book, pull the book off the shelf, read the book, take notes, and write a paper, right? That took critical thinking, that took knowledge. Now students can use Chat GPT and just type the question, and
Yes.
the paper comes out in 1 minute. So
Yes.
the students aren't learning how to critically think. Everything's being given to them. They ask Alexa, what's 2 + 2? They're not using their fingers to count. You know, we're really getting a dumbing down of our kids.
So are you great? You can't tell what writing is coming from Chat GPT, and that's something. Huh?
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
you can't tell because the way the technology works today for plagiarism is they're looking for a paper that's already been written.
Yes.
Chat GPT is writing a new paper using
Right.
the internet. The way I can tell is I have the students speaking class. So I'm like, you wrote a wonderful paper. Why don't you come to the front and tell everyone what you said?
Yeah. Well, it's true. It's true. A couple of high school teachers found that to be the same. You know, some of the vocabulary is totally different from what you would typically. Our kids are being conditioned to rely on AI. That's true. That is true. And now you have some people who are using the report from Chat GPT as a way to grade the students. How is that real? That's not real.
It's not. It's not.
So, yeah, all right. So I like to throw monkey wrenches into him here,
You always do.
Professor Pierre. I just got a TikTok, not a TikTok, a WhatsApp, social media hit, right? I'm in like 50 groups on TikTok on WhatsApp, and one of them said the following: "What is the purpose of school if anything I need is on Google? What's the purpose of some of these subjects that they're teaching in school? If everything that I need is on Google, whatever I need to find is on Google." So my child, as long as my child knows how to, and I use Google a lot to research, to travel, to do this, to come up, extrapolate, whatever I need to extrapolate, right? And find out about. So if you're going to subscribe, which is what you're just saying now, what's the point of me writing a paper if, or this particular paper, if I can just read the information and regurgitate the paper to you? I mean, what is the point when that means that if I don't have to focus on this particular component in school, and the other component too is that half the things I learned in school, and I personally went to school for more than 26 years, right? Half the things I learned I don't need, right? When I could just use Google. What's your answer to that?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's funny because I've had these conversations many times with employees at different companies because they said, why do I have to go back to school? I just want to get promoted. And I talk about this in the book. This is my thought process on education. Undergraduate programming, the sole purpose of it is to teach you discipline, to stick to something for 4 years. So it shows that you have discipline and tenacity and organizational skills. It teaches you how to work with other folks because you're going to have to do projects. that prepares you for the workforce, because in the workforce, everything you do is in collaboration with other people. So if you can't collaborate in school, you won't be able to collaborate in the workplace. And it teaches you the methodology of thinking, critically thinking. So how to solve a problem. It teaches you how to solve a problem. So it's not necessarily the subjects you learn, it's the thinking process you go through when you're learning a new subject. That's the skill that you have, the critical thinking piece. So here's an example of why I say it's scary that we just use Google. It's Women's History Month. If I type into Google, show me a leader, and I click images, it's going to show me a bunch of white men, because Google is using the data that's out there and the algorithms to say this is what a leader looks like. And so us just using Google means we are giving up ourselves to the algorithms that's being run by these conglomerates that don't look like us.
Well, Doc, but that's the whole thing with technology. It's make things more convenient and easy, spell check and everything else. You know, the books, you don't even have to read a book, you can listen to it. So because of the advancement in technology, that's why it has become more convenient for us to some of us to advance. Some of us are just reliant upon the spell checks, relying upon technology to educate us. But we are not put it this way, because of our advancement in technology, we have become lazy.
Correct.
We don't go the extra mile to do the research. You can get on Google and find out, instead of just going to the way we had to do is we had to go to the library, go get the reference books, had to go see what this book was about, then find this book, find the information. You know, at that point in time, we were how can I say it? It's sort of like we were we had to discover these things. We
Correct.
were on we had to go after them. We were like, you know, what do you call those? I wouldn't say adventurers, those who don't discover.
Yeah, explorers.
Explore, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely.
We were like Dora the Explorer, you know, exploring, you know, kept asking why. But at some point in time, because of technology has gotten, we are so reliant on technology that we have given up our capacity to push ourselves when it comes to learning.
I agree. And there is someone who's in control of those algorithms, and they're
Right.
not people that look like us. So when we
Right.
Google something, we're reading someone else's history. We're reading
Right.
someone else's decision on what's priority.
Right.
If you want to find out about yourself, you have to do your own research. The things that we need for our own people will not be the top of what we Google. It's that it's going to be on page 20 of the Google search, not on page 1. So
Correct.
I think it's scary if we get to a world where we're not investigating on our own and we just kind of leave it up to the powers that be to make these decisions.
You know, it's interesting that you said this. So I actually typed in images of leaders, and I mean I do see a couple black folks in there, but it's spackled. It's spackled. Just basically just doing the 10, like for example, I do 10 of the most inspiring leaders, and I see Mandela and can't recognize this black woman. It looks like Oprah, but then the other 3 are, you know, white men. And so it's true what you're saying. It's hard. I don't see Mansa Musa in there. So you have to.
You'll never see Mansa Musa on the Google unless you type in Mansa Musa on Google. You won't see it.
Right. Yeah. But you know, it's very impressive. I want to switch a little bit to finances. A lot. You're a finance professor at a couple of our CUNY colleges here in New York State.
Yep.
I you know, we're very big as our motto is dedicated to living a healthy, capable, and financially capable life through education. So I want you to start, and then we're going to go to your book. So we want to do that as well. So we want to talk about, especially people of color, right? why is it important to understand finances? Why is it important to invest in I use this expression today with my wife, and the expression was, you learn from your past, you live in your present, and you prepare for your future. Because you can't live in any other entity, you can't learn from any other entity, and you cannot prepare for any other entity. Because, right? So when you talk about finances, tell us how your history allows you to live and allows you to prepare for your future.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me attack it from some different ways. If you look at the, and I'm going to go way back. If you look at the history of Haiti, and I'll explain why I'm talking about Haiti. They got their independence in 1804. There was a big fear from other countries that had colonies, that other colonies would see that Haiti was free and they would also revolt. And all of these European countries would lose all of their colonies, all of the countries that they're ruling over. And so what did they do to Haiti? They attacked them economically. They didn't acknowledge them as a country. They didn't trade with them. And they basically became a very, and then they also financed debt on them to make them pay for their own bodies. They had to pay for their own freedom, which is crazy, that they had to pay reparations. And so how did they have Haiti have a demise? Economically. Everything happens through money. So you fast forward from the Haiti history to America. If you look at African Americans and you look at the stats, our net income is the lowest. Our saving rates are the lowest. We tend to be in disadvantaged neighborhoods. So if we have real estate, the real estate is depressed. Where do you attack someone to keep them down is on the economics. Economics is everything, supply and demand. And so for me, to sort of end the cycle of this sort of staying at the bottom and not being able to climb up from the top, it's so important to think through savings, investments, being smart with your money, getting equity, getting property, all the things that the systematic systems in America have been trying for you not to get. Those are the exact things you want to get. There's a reason why they don't want you to have home ownership. Redlining was done purposely because they knew that if African Americans had homes, they would be rich. Life insurance, if you have high rates of diabetes and obesity, your life insurance rates are more expensive. So what happens in Black neighborhoods? You walk around, I'm right on Fulton Street in Brooklyn. You walk around Brooklyn, what do you see? McDonald's, KFC, Burger King, they're all next to each other. So we're eating the wrong foods, which leads to our life insurance policies being more expensive, which means when we do pass away, we're not giving any money to our families because we don't have life insurance. So to me, this is like, if you think of the slave master, they didn't want the slaves to read. Why? They knew if slaves would read, they would get free faster. They would get their freedom faster. Whatever America doesn't want me to have, those are the things I try to get myself. So I was like very urgent on making sure I have investments, making sure I have real estate, making sure that I have savings, because those are all the things that they don't want our people to have. They want us to be the worker bee instead of being the queen bee. And that's essentially how the capitalistic system works. It needs workers. And so they've flagged us as the workers to be in the warehouse, right, where I started working, as opposed to being the owner and the business owner.
What tools? So you touched on one, which is the ability to read, right? So to invest in education, right? So either invest in education. Like, I'm from my family. My heritage is Jamaican. Dr. Bryant is of Haitian descent, and Dr. Sampson is of Guyanese descent. All of our families, right, had started from not the same level where we are educationally. And the same thing with your family. but there's a push. Why then? You're talking to our listeners because sometimes when we tell them, they don't hear. You have had the experience, and you're on the post high school level. Why do you push education?
Yeah, education is the foundation to freedom. Here's the first piece. One of the reasons I went back for my doctorate degree is when I was looking at research papers on healthcare, trying to figure out why Black people are dying faster. If you look at maternity mortality rate.
Hey, Doc, if I can interject for a second.
Yeah, please.
We know education is the key, but why can't we achieve that educational level? It's not that we know what it is, but why is it so difficult for us to achieve what we know would lead us to economic, financial freedom? You know, what prevents us from? It's very simple. It's very simple, very basic. We know what it is, but why is it so difficult for us to achieve it? To me, that's the issue. I know what education can do for us, but why is it so difficult for us to achieve education?
Yeah, I think I was sort of alluding to it before. We're in a capitalistic society. What does Amazon need? They need people in the warehouse to deliver goods to affluent folks. So they want a labor force that is low income, uneducated, that's going to be in their warehouse to deliver packages to the affluent people. And so there is a system that does not want us to have money, that does not want us to move up. This is the system is built for the results that it gets. And so Dr. Sampson, you're saying, why is it so hard? Because the country has a hierarchy of who wins and who loses. Rich get richer, poor get poorer. Just look at how education is done at the public school level. It's based on property taxes. So the rich neighborhoods have better schools than the poor neighborhoods. That systemically is done on purpose. So you're sending your kids to lesser schools than affluent kids. And then what does that mean? If you become Black and you make money, you literally have to leave your neighborhood to go to a suburb for purposes of education, which is crazy. And that's where you get the Black flight from, right? So, why is it that way? We are built on systems upon systems of intentionally built processes to keep certain folks down. They tend to be people of color. And to keep other folks up, they tend to be people that are white.
So how do you address that? I think that's kind of what. So again, expressions of the pie, right? So the pieces of the pie that affects how things are. So things like we are renters, right? So we don't have enough economic growth to buy a home. Right. And if we buy a home, we want to sell it, right? And try to make the quick buck. We don't spend time in the schools. You know what's funny? A simple thing as just being able to rely on public transportation alone in the city is an economic suppression.
Of course.
And people don't even think that, I can get the buses. The bus is easier access. The bus is this. The bus is that. But you don't have access. Why are there yellow cabs in Manhattan and none in Brooklyn? Have everybody ever thought about that? In order to get a yellow cab, you have to go downtown Brooklyn.
Right.
So people in poor neighborhoods, there aren't yellow cabs.
That's why, brother. That's why you got Uber and Lyft, my friend.
But I agree. But until there was Uber and Lyft, there was only yellow cabs in the city.
Yeah. Let me give you an example. So when I was 23, I scrounged up enough money to buy a condo in Soundview. Back then, it was not the best place in terms of the crime and the place it looked. But scrounged up enough money for the down payment. The condo was maybe $150,000. Stayed there for 13 years so that it could grow in value. I had to get multiple appraisers because the first appraiser was too low. That happens to Black people, but Black homes get appraised low. So you had to go through several of them to finally get appraised to be able to sell it, right? we still try to do things very independent and individualistically.
Mhm.
I do think that there's an opportunity for us to pull together. If I look at all of the brownstones in Harlem that could be 5 million, but they're still only 1 million because they haven't been fixed in a long time. People sitting on those don't have the money to fix it, to flip it. So they sell it to developers. The developers don't look like us. They're coming into the neighborhood. They sell it for $1 million, and then the developer puts in $200,000 and then sells it for $5 million. Why aren't we collectively pulling our money together to help those Black homeowners refurbish their home so that they stay in the home, they stay in the community? That's something we collectively could do.
Doc, but that now you're talking about something else, because that's really we can really get deep into that. Why do we sabotage one another? You look at
we're not supportive, John. We're not, and that's what he's trying to say.
We're not
supportive enough of each other to watch each other's growth.
That's correct, because I look at you look at the Asians when they come.
Mm-hmm.
You look at certain Caribbeans when they come, what they're willing to sacrifice. I look at my own father. My father, we had a 4-bedroom. We had a 4-bedroom home. However, they made me and my brother share a room, and the reason is because they used the other rooms for our relatives who were coming from Guyana to give them an opportunity to get a job, build some income, get a place, and then bring their siblings along.
Absolutely.
Or bring their children along. That was the mindset back then.
Yep.
For a lot of people, but we have this an existentialist attitude where we live for today, and when we're living for today, we are being selfish and not understanding that we have to lay the groundworks for our future generations. We don't do that.
Yeah.
I know that we digress a little bit, but we're not. Again, I go back to that expression, right? Learn from the past, live in the present, prepare for the future.
But
We have a tendency, and going back to the economics, going back to the we as Black folks, I find that we like to speak about the importance of the expressions, but not live the value of the expressions. What do I mean by that? We say that our children are the future, but we don't invest in that future.
look what
We don't spend money on education. We don't spend
Right.
money on legacy, like John was just talking about, and what you're talking about, again, the financial component, right? So you either have to invest in education or invest the money in the person. And most of us are not independently wealthy to say, I'm going to leave my child. I have enough to give them $1 million.
Right.
So financially speaking, what are ways then to say, one is to invest in education, one is to maintain your house and will it to your children? What are some other ways that parents can, let's say a parent who doesn't have it, but they believe in this, but they really don't have it. What are some simple things that parents can do to help to live that legacy and not just talk about the legacy, but live it?
Yeah, I mentioned life insurance. I had an example of an aunt that passed away. That when the dust was settled, we realized that the life insurance coverage lapsed. So they weren't paying the monthly bill, and then it lapsed, and we didn't find out till after they passed. And so my cousins, her kids, were not left with anything. And that's very unfortunate. And those stories happen in Black households all the time. And people say, well, why am I going to waste money on life insurance? I'm not going to use the money now. And it's like, it's not for you. It's for your family. It's so that when I pass, at least my family's taken care of. Right. And that goes right back to health. Life insurance is more expensive if you are more obese. If you have diabetes, if you have high cholesterol. So
I want you to go back. I love that. I want you to go back because I want people to start understanding something. that they have a sense of responsibility to your children. You mothered them, you fathered them. And if you believe in a dream, just like you're saying, that they don't seem to understand, they have a future that you have to take care of. And you don't know when you're going to be wiped out. And if you don't give it to yourself, you give it to your grandchildren. So I don't want you to, you said it, but I want, like to, when you're reading something, it's this part is bolded, right? So there's an emphasis, or it's capitalized. There's an emphasis. So I just want you, why is it so important? What can people do with generational wealth if you left them life insurance?
So it's a very simple policy, and I'm not even a person that sells life insurance. I just know that I have to have it because it's a tool of financial wealth. A simple policy of $100,000, which is not a lot of money, right? And not a lot. And there's policies there's term life for $1 million, is after you pass, any of your debts, your mortgage on the home, all of those things that you were paying for when you're on the planet, you now can have that be paid off, and your children do not have to worry about the debt that you've accumulated while you're on the planet. So most families that are well-to-do, they got it through generational wealth. Someone left them a house, someone left them a life insurance payout, and that's how they started their whole life. They weren't millionaires because they were smart people. They were just millionaires because someone died and they got a lot of money. And that's how it's happened over and over, time after time. If you leave your family with a house that needs to have a mortgage paid, then they're now struggling to pay for this thing, which it should be bare minimum. You have a life insurance policy for at least the amount of the leftover mortgage, at least. So if you pass away, the house is paid for. That's like bare minimum. And I did that with my parents. Like that's a no-brainer. But those are things that are very difficult conversations, because if we are strapped for cash, we're saying $1 today is more important than $1 tomorrow. And so you live for today, but you're not investing for tomorrow. But that will change the trajectory of a kid. A kid whose parent passed away, maybe they're in their 30s, and doesn't have debt, doesn't have to worry about their parents' debt. They've just changed their trajectory for this. Now, instead of paying that mortgage, they can now pay for college for their kid. The kid.
Well, Doc, like some people say, I have amassed a lot, but then I'm gonna leave everything for my children. My children have to learn a way. I give my children everything so they can become self-sufficient. And now I'm supposed to worry about them. But I've set them up so they can prepare themselves
Right.
For the future. So, you want to live too. You want to live, because you have some kids, you can leave everything for them and they squander everything.
Absolutely.
And we have seen that too.
Yeah. But my thing is, if you're gone, you've left the planet, whether your kids are going to squander it or not, you can't take it yourself.
Yeah.
No, that's why you spend it.
Nor will you know. Wait. But you know what's funny? I always smile at this. Like, black people, Caribbean black are one of the most, Jamaicans are one of the most religious people in the world. They all want to die and go see Jesus. Every single last one of them. Right? But come talk to them about death. Who y'all talk to? Me to tell us, I go nowhere. You want to poison me? You want to kill me? You want this, blah, 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 blah. But you were just saying you can't wait to see your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
So it's coming, right? It's coming. Oh, but so why you preaching? Don't preach about it, right? Because I'm not saying. By the way, I'm not telling anybody, hey, go die by suicide. That's not what I'm saying, right?
For life insurance, if you do that, if the first,
right, that's true, right? So I'm not telling you or tell somebody to wipe you out, right? And that's not what I'm telling you, because that's not suicide, or unless they found out that you asked for it. But the fact is, The fact is, it's a preparation, right? It's a preparation. And the other thing, right? The other thing that people have to say, though, I don't know how true it is, but they say when, what is it, Alexander the Great, when he died, he said, "Put my arms outside the coffin," right? Or whoever it was that said it, the world leader that said that, to show that naked I came and naked I'm leaving.
Right, right.
You understand? Or the man that says, asked his wife to bury him with all of his money. He had $100,000, so she wrote him a check for $100,000. Right? So we have to learn that. So anyway, let's turn to the book. I know we're enjoying the talk a little bit. Tell us, do you have a copy of the book? Show us the title of the book and talk, tell us a little bit about why you wrote it.
Sure. So it's right behind me. I think you can see it, right? On the shelf.
No, we can't see it.
No, you can't see it.
No.
This is it. Here.
The way.
Okay. So it's called The Way Up, Climbing the Corporate Mountain as a Professional of Color. It was published by Wiley. It came out in December. And the book essentially is 15 chapters filled with 15 lessons, recommendations, tips on how to navigate corporate America as a Black person or a person of color. I interviewed 11 executives of color as well for the book. So the head of diversity, equity, inclusion for American Express, his name is Robert Childs. I interviewed him. There's a woman named Dr. Toyin Ajayi. She is a Nigerian American startup founder. She founded a company called City Block. That's a $5 billion company that she runs. I featured her in the book. And then there's the highest African American attorney at Microsoft. This gentleman's also in the book as well. So the book is a culmination of my lessons, recommendations, advice from those executives of color, and then a ton of research. 2.5 years to write the book. So there was a ton of research on why there's not enough people of color at the higher levels in corporate America. It's a two-way street. Part of it, the issue is corporate America has implicit bias. They're not giving opportunities to people of color. So that's part of it. But then the other part is there's things we can do as employees to put ourselves up in a better position to get promoted. So it's a two-way street. And then every chapter has a story, and then it ends with the lessons. And then in the back of the book, all of the research that I did, it has all of my citations. So you can look at the research papers, the articles, and all the information of where I got my data. The last thing I'll say is I had to tell the story 3 times, the book 3 times. So I talk about my own experience. That's the first story. Because I went from being in a warehouse for a beauty supply store to becoming chief operating officer for a large health insurance company. Then I talk about the 11 people of color, their stories of their tribulations, trying as a Black person going in corporate America. That's the second story. And then the third story is the research that shows the numbers. We have high degrees, we have lots of experience, we have the gifts to move up, but for some strange reason, we're not moving up. And I had to tell the story 3 times because many times we're not believed in America.
Amen. Amen.
No one believes me. So the book literally tells a story in 3 different ways. My story, 11 other executive story, and then research.
Mm.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. And now with so many females with higher ed, do you find that there is still limitation and bias
100%.
because, and some are blocked from being promoted?
Yeah, 100%. So the data shows this, and there's examples of people's stories that show this. Just like when you Google leader, you'll see a lot of men first. There's still a perception that women can't lead. Think of America. How many female leaders of other countries have there been? Female prime ministers in England, female leaders in Africa. Only in America, we've never had a woman president. That's a bias. So those bias exist in corporate America. The other thing that happens too is people have this assumption that, there should be no racism in the company. People are racist when they're not at work. So guess what? When they show up to work, They bring themselves there. So there as absolutely racism in corporate America. You have to be aware of it. You have to navigate it.
Mhm.
And you usually get punished. And the data shows this if you call out racism in corporate America. So if you say, oh, they treated me bad because of the color of my skin, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get pushed aside, isolated, ostracized. So there's tips and ways to navigate the racism to try to do the best you can to move around.
Amen.
How long did you work as a CFO?
COO, Chief Operating Officer.
Okay.
Oh, by the way,
COO.
can you do me a favor before you ask that question? Explain the difference between CEO, CFO, and COO.
Sure.
The
So
audience will know. And
So
then
CEO is the Chief Executive Officer. They are elected and hired and presented by the board, and they run the business. They run the company. They make all of the financial decisions, the strategic decisions for a company. CEO. Everyone who is on the executive team reports into the CEO. The CFO is the Chief Financial Officer. They are charged with managing the books, the financial books, balance sheets, income statements, cash flows, investments. They ensure that the company has enough money to run, solvency. So they look at the numbers and they say, how many days do we have for operations? We can run for a month because of the revenue we have. We can run for 6 months because of the revenue we have. And they do things like, let's cut expenses so we can run longer. So they're so much more like the financial guru of the company. They know all the financial numbers. Chief Operating Officer, which was the role I had at Empire Blue Cross Blue Shield, runs the operations. So your call center, your development team, anything that
You run the engine
exactly
that powers the whole business.
right.
The whole corporation. You're responsible for the maintenance, the total output of that, the internal workings, or we say the infrastructure of the business.
Absolutely.
So who runs the employees? I mean, you all do, but who's the head honcho in the employees? The CEO.
COO, brother.
Yeah, so I had a team of 1,400 people that worked for me, and they were, we did health insurance. So they were picking up the phones, they were loading the members onto the system, they were sending out ID cards, they were answering questions, they were enrolling people, they were making sure that they were in the offices every day answering questions. They were the heart and soul of what the company did.
Okay, so
The guts.
Dr. Bryant
The
was
guts.
asking you a question.
Yeah. What happened? Did he
So
answer the question?
how long? I think that was how long?
Yes, that
Oh
was-
yeah, so I was at Blue Cross for 18 months in that role. It was one of the craziest experiences I had. So the first chapter of the book is my resignation letter because I resigned from that role. It was the craziest experience I had being in that position because I was 35 years old. I was a Black person. There was so much silent animosity that I faced because they needed to literally double check anything I said for it to be verified. They wanted to see proof, evidence, or whatever. I would walk into rooms. There was assumptions that I wasn't the COO, and they just assumed that I was someone else. I have a youthful look, and there was times where I wasn't taken serious. So it was one of the most turbulent.
I got the same problem, by youthful look too.
That was then, John. This is now.
Yeah. But it was one of my most turbulent professional experiences I've ever had. And I talk about it in the book that there were times where I would come home from work maybe 10 p.m., go back into the office at 6 a.m. No one ever says thank you in operations. Operations, everything's supposed to work. So
By the way, no one says thank you anywhere. Don't worry about it.
Exactly.
Unless you're the boss. If you're the boss and you don't say thank you, all of a sudden nothing happens. Nobody tells the boss thank you. Trust me.
Yeah. But I'll say this. So racism in the 60s and 70s and maybe the 50s, it was point blank. It was right in front of your face. It was someone with a white hat over their head and a robe. Racism in 2023 is there's a meeting, everyone's in the meeting, that the CEO held, except for you. You're not in the meeting. You were conveniently left out. And when you try to find out why, they say, "Oh, sorry, that was I was an
Yeah,
oversight."
I forgot. I get that a lot. I forgot. I
Wait.
forgot message.
Those are the things you go through. This is, oh, we're gonna get lunch for all the executives. They go around the room to get everyone's order, and they skip you. Oh, why they skip you? Oh, sorry. And it's these tiny little cuts, and they're waiting for you to make a scene. I mean, they're all done so that you act out and get mad and get crazy. They say, "Aha! See, I knew he was black."
I mean, the angry black man.
Right, exactly. So it was a crazy experience. It was a crazy experience. I'm glad I went through it because it let me know that America still has a lot of work to do.
Amen.
And it helped your LinkedIn page. Don't worry.
Amen, God. Amen.
Have you ever met Robert Smith?
I have not. No, I have not. Unfortunately.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, ladies and gentlemen, Robert Smith is the wealthiest black man outside of an athlete in the United States.
Yeah.
Athlete or entertainer.
Yeah, he was just honored at the 100 Black Men Gala. He gave a bunch of scholarships to some of the high school students in New York City. So he does amazing work. And then he recently paid for all the college tuition at a
Morehouse.
at Morehouse, yeah, which is just amazing.
Yeah. Why am I keep missing this meeting? Because I have two older boys who need to cut tuition paid for. You know? I'm a broke black man, you know. But you know what?
Yeah, they go on vacation.
Wait,
before you say anything, you guys can say whatever you want, but let me not claim that broke black man.
Exactly.
I don't want to claim
Exactly, my brother. Exactly, please.
Financially,
That's a falsehood.
right? No, but you're saying it for a different reason. I'm like, we should not claim the term broke.
Absolutely.
We might be a little bit
Economically challenged.
Economically challenged right now, but let's not claim the word broke. So how can we? I mean, obviously, you're going to send us a copy of the book because I want to make sure that I didn't get a chance to read it. Normally, I like to read the books and then talk to the author of the books, and I didn't get a chance to read it. So I guess Andre will get in touch and let you know how to send that copy to me.
Yes, we'll absolutely send copies out to all of you.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so I get it because I want to have you back on because I want to go through chapter by chapter and read
He
it.
likes to debate.
Huh?
You like to debate back and forth.
No,
That's good.
yeah,
That's good.
No, but Errol, I don't want to debate, right? Because I know that John, Dr. Sampson, Dr. Brian, and myself, because this is the village, right? So we are very highly. That's why sometimes when I say repeat what you just said, right? It's important because the largest part of our audience is black. The largest part, all of our audience is middle class, right? I would say 99.9% of our audience is middle class, whether you're black, white, or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
And we all want to create financial growth for ourselves and our families, right? Because I know everybody in this studio, from the executive producer to the producer to the three hosts and our guests, all believe that our children should be better off than we are. We all believe that. We all want that. So when we get somebody on like you, we want to make sure that we capitalize on all of that education that you are presenting.
Absolutely.
I love the fact that you talk about in life insurance. When we talk about it, we get scared, right? You know how many black families I know don't have life insurance. And the other thing that I always tell people when you talk about life insurance, you don't have to have kids to have life insurance. You can live it to your nephews and your nieces, you know, because instrumental people in your life who you want to make a change.
Right.
I know, like I've seen like the person's passing and left the caretaker some money to take care of her family or his family, right? Because you want to help somebody. You might end up having a couple millions of dollars, and you, like Robert Smith, I want to give scholarship to other people.
Right.
Leave it to your church, leave it to a school, leave it to your elementary school, your middle school. Start a performing arts program at your school or something like that, so you can help millions of people down the line.
Yep.
things like that. So
Yeah, I think too,
Mhm.
one of the things is interesting as you're talking. I know everyone knows Susu, right?
yeah,
And so this is what many immigrant communities do to sort of say, hey, we need to do savings.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
outside of the system. It doesn't get any interest rates. You're trusting in neighbors. It's good from a community perspective, but imagine if that money was used for an investment,
To invest, yes.
right?
Yep.
How long would that go? Say you said, hey, we're all going to get together and buy a home.
Mhm.
We're all going to get together with this with
I
the
like that.
Susu allotment and do something, buy a plot of land. Like we have to take it to the next level, you know? And I think those are the opportunities and the discussions we have to have.
Amen.
I,
Amen.
you know,
Doc, Doc,
yeah,
thank you. Thank you.
that is
Thank
a
you, Doc.
beautiful idea. That's a beautiful. I never thought of that. I never thought of that. John, we're gonna do a susu.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you. Thank you, Doc.
So we can, look at that. The lack of support. I said, let's do a susu so we can buy a hotel in Guyana, right? Right. We all John, we throw a hand $200 a week. What do you think?
That sounds good to me, my brother. Then we'll invest it in the stock market, mutual funds.
Well, we could do that too. We could start.
All right.
So
Yeah.
Hey,
I have
Doc,
a
Doc,
question.
it was oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have a question for you. What pushed you to actually write your story?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the two things happened. The pandemic hit. I'm in healthcare. I saw Black people disproportionately get impacted by COVID, right? We were dying at higher rates than anybody else. That was just sad to see. And then the murder of George Floyd happened, and it was on TV, and people saw the 8 minutes of a Black man being murdered on TV. Is modern day lynching, right? All this is happening, and I'm at home, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, I just resigned from the COO role after 18 months. And I was like, I need to put down on paper my story so that other people don't make the same mistakes I made. And then so that people realize that corporate America still has a long way to go. Despite all the diversity, equity, and inclusion talking points that they have, despite all of the public proclamations that we want to be better, at the end of the day, the stats are still the same. We don't have enough people of color at the higher levels. So that's what really inspired me to write the book. Then the pandemic, the silver lining of it was I was stuck at home for 2 years with nothing to do. so that's where I began starting to write. Around June of 2020, I started to sit down and start to write the book. It took me about 18 months to get the first draft, and then that's when I started looking for a book agent and an editor and all that kind of stuff.
So you just mentioned that there's not enough people at the higher level, right? So do you believe that if there were more minorities at the higher level, that there'll be more opportunities for others?
100%, 100%. Now, this is the key. It's not just Black faces in high places. That's not
Okay.
going to do it, right?
Mhm.
Because if you think about New York State, we have the Attorney General's Black woman. Eric Adams is a Black man, Black mayor. The Speaker of the New York State Assembly, Black man. The highest level of the Senate, Black woman. We have Black people in a lot of political places. Not everything is fixed. I get that, right? However, when you have more people of color at the top, everyone has bias. Everyone naturally gravitates towards people that look like themselves. So if you have a very diverse executive team, what tends to happen is you're going to see diversity go down to the ranks. If you start with an executive team that's all white, they're going to hire white people. Those white people are going to hire white people. And then you don't get the diversity until you get to rank and file. But if you start at the top with Indian, Chinese, Asian, Black, Hispanic, a leadership team that's diverse, they're going to tend to have hires that look like themselves. This is natural. This naturally happens. And so the company will also be diverse. You're basically trying to diversify your bias. That's what you're trying to get to.
So we have a story that we want to talk about. Maybe I'm going to leave with that. We're going to leave it until you got off. But I'm going to leave with that story. So let me read you the whole caption of what happened. It's about 30 seconds. Just listen up for a minute. I don't know if you have enough time, but I'm going to read it anyway. So, city's probing anti-white text linked to black superintendent.
Wait, say it again. Say it again.
So, a black superintendent, the superintendent of Staten Island, District 31 in New York City, sent a text to a principal who shared it with another principal. So, she's talking to two principals about specifically what you were just talking about now. The city is investigating widely circulated screenshots for anti-white text purportedly written by the black superintendent for Staten Island schools. The inflammatory text basically says that she's a black woman and she's going to look to hire black people, black and indigenous people to run the different schools in Staten Island. So she's not really looking to hire more white people to make it less white, to make it more colorful. That's the gist of her test. Stella has the highest rate of white students of any district, 40%, and 14% is citywide. The racial makeup includes 29% Hispanic. We don't need to know that. Wilson, who joined the deal, let's go back a little bit. So basically, she's looking to hire a significant amount of black. Would you consider this part of the conversation, that where she's saying openly, which is stupid, that she's not looking to hire any more white principals, but looking no more white principals on my watch, says one of the text messages.
Yeah, this is a great point. So when you say diversity, you're saying that you want to have you want to hire the best, and you want to have differences at the executive level. So if you are a company serving America and you have an all black executive team and you're serving all of America, not just, black, say, I'm talking like American Express. Say American Express had an all black executive team. And they purposely were saying, I'm not going to hire other people who are qualified for the role. I'm going to bypass them to specifically hire black people. You are doing the same thing you're trying to undo with what's happening in white America. So that's not the goal. The true goal is there are algorithms that when they see black sounding names, they put them at the bottom of the list.
Yep.
And so you have to overcome that bias by
I'm sorry. When you hear what kind of names?
Black sounding names. This is data and research. If someone's named Jamal and they have the same resume as someone who's named John will get 2 times more phone calls for that job than Jamal will. This is data. These are studies that are out there. So and why does that happen? Because what the computers did was say, let's take who was hired and let's take who was promoted and let's take that data and put it into an algorithm for resumes. So if there was already bias in the company, then all that you did was take the bias in the company and put it in the computer, and the computer continues the bias. So to answer your question, when you say diversity, what you're saying is you want to find qualified people to do the job that match the population you're serving. So if Staten Island is, I don't know what the numbers are. If Staten Island is 25% black, then yeah, you should shoot for your executive team to be 25% black. That's not racist. That's not anti-white. That's matching the demographics of the population you serve. That to me is fine. Now, if you serve a community that's 1% black and you have a full black team and you've done it not based on merit, you've done it based on favoritism and bias, that's just as bad as an all-white company. That's not the issue.
But what about if they, for too long, I'm just equally as qualified as a white man. So if I'm equally as qualified as a white, and by the way, there's also sexual bias too. Like you're gonna hire more females than you hire males, right? Because I feel that so people, let's not be afraid. I'm gonna hire a black female, a black male, a white female, because of the same reasons, right?
So think of it. Think of this.
My question to you is: if we're both qualified, but for so long we have been overlooked.
Yes.
So therefore, I want to try to even up the ball. Yes, there's some level of race of reverse racism, but it's also equal in the playing field as well. No?
I don't consider it reverse racism. I don't consider it reverse racism.
Why?
So, okay. Systemically, that we haven't had enough opportunities given to us over to time. So you're trying to right the wrongs. The key is you don't want to right the wrongs on the backs of people that did not do the wrong. That's the first piece. The second piece is diversity actually makes companies perform better. There were 3 studies from McKinsey, 2014, 2017, and 2019, that showed the more diverse a company is, the actually better they perform better financially. So it behooves a company to pursue diversity. If everyone looks the same, you're actually going to perform worse.
Right. But here, if you're trying to even out the playing field and the people are not qualified, then you're
That's
doing
worse.
it.
That's
Exactly.
a disservice. That's a disservice too. No one wants to be a token. So the example I was going to bring up was President Joe Biden. He said, I'm going to hire nominate a black woman to the Supreme Court. He said that before he even knew who the candidates were. And then we picked Ketanji Brown Jackson. To me, she's qualified. If you look at her resume, she's more than qualified. But to me, by saying it out loud, that you are designating the spot for a black woman, as opposed to her getting the role on the merits of her own, she got the role partially because she was black. To me, that's not the way we want to fix the system. She could be selected, but select her because she was the best nominee. Don't select her because
She was the best nominee. What are you saying?
No,
What we're saying is before you make
I know. You know me already.
So a question in the question on YouTube: how do you make it even?
Yeah. So this is my barometer is you want to have a team that reflects the population you serve. So if your company serves New York City, your executive team should reflect New York City in gender, in equity, in race, in cultural backgrounds. That's what you should shoot for. So those demographics, you should shoot for it. Now, how do you do it? When you do interviews, you do not start a single interview until you have a slate of candidates that's diverse. What happens today is they're like, oh, I have one black guy. Oh, okay. So you interview 5 white people and 1 black guy, and then you wonder why the black guy never gets hired. No, you have to have a diverse slate of candidates before you start the first interview. So that's the first piece. You say, I'm going to have 6 candidates. 3 are going to be women. 3 are going to be men. And then of the 3 that are women, 1 or 2 have to be a minority. And of the men, 1 or 2 have to be a minority. And you start there, right?
But you still have the same problem.
Well, let me finish. Then you have the people who do the interviews has to be diverse as well. And so when you have a diverse slate and you have a diverse interview panel, this is a Harvard study, and I can send you the link. 60% of the time you hire a diverse person when those conditions are in place.
So here's
That's when you start.
Here's the problem.
Yeah.
The person at the top, like you said, have to be 2 things. 1, conscious of diversity.
Yes, it starts at the top.
And I'm not even going to say that person is black or white or any other race for that matter. You have to be conscious of diversity, 1, and 2, know your own biases. Right? So those 2 things have to be important in terms of the role. Yeah. So I you know, it's so you could study. I live in a neighborhood where the Chinese man, no matter when I get there, there's no black people hired, but he needs the black economy,
right?
Because he's in a black and Caribbean neighborhood, and we won't stop eating the damn Chinese food from those people instead of going to China. I eat Chinese food, but I want to go to Chinatown to eat it. Just like I want them to come into my Caribbean community and eat my Caribbean food, but they're not going to. They're going back to Chinatown.
Do that.
But if you don't make them to do that responsible either by hiring or spending,
Yeah.
Either hiring or spending, it's not going to work.
To that point, I agree with that too. And if you don't know your own biases, you surround yourself with a team that can check your biases. That's the other thing too. But to that point, this gets back to things that we can do as a people, right? So why is that? In our community, the minority-owned business owners are the Chinese, the Indian, the Arab, right? In these depressed neighborhoods or in these Black communities, and we give them business. We keep
A
them,
whole lot of business.
we keep them afloat. Imagine a world where we said, no, I'm gonna go to the businesses that cook the food I want to eat, that's healthier, that are in my community, that cook the food from my homeland, and it would naturally deprive them of it. They would have to do something different. But we are literally encouraging them economically to be there.
So one of the problems is, and I want to thank you. I want to close with this. One of the problems there in our communities, the level of expectation above appreciation. So sometimes what you find in our Black-owned businesses is that I should charge a little bit higher. You should pay the price that I'm charging you. And the idea of customer service is no longer of value because
Yes.
you're Black, I am Black. You need to invest in me.
Yeah.
Yet still, they don't understand. And you and I and the team here spoke about the intangibles, the little things that make me want to come back, the little things that make you feel good about the thing that you have.
Mhm.
The glaring expectation is that we're both Black. But if I go to the Jewish man, and he's willing to take $1 off or 50 cents off, and that 50 cent goes a long way. That means now I could buy a cup of soup or a beef patty for my children because you know what? I can now buy lunch.
Right.
Mhm.
You're now trying to take my lunch money and then charge me extra for the lunch money that I don't already have.
Yeah.
So the customer service component. So, with that being said, I want to thank you very much. We have a couple of things to go over before our 2 hours is up. But man, this conversation with you has been easy, breezy, peachy, because you're great to talk to. So we
Thank you.
appreciate that at all.
Yes, thank
These
you
are
for coming on.
tough questions, but I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna steal Dr. Brian's question, and because I know she don't want to let you go. Because one thing she's texting me right here, telling me how she loves your smile. Nothing upsets her more than when I make comments like those. Because she's clearly not texting me. But how does somebody get in touch with you? How do they how do they get a copy of your book before we start talking about it? So I'm letting you know right now, you're going to be back on in a month to talk about the book.
Oh, this one. Wait. This one is important too, and it's so true because the banks that we deposit our money in are still not willing to make loans available to Black people. So true.
Yeah,
So
I really want to answer that, but because it's a very important question. I'm going to leave that question alone, Celia.
But next time he got to come back.
For the next time, because today, we run out of time. We literally only have like 4 minutes left. So tell us how to get in touch with you.
Mhm.
Yes, so I am at errolpierre.com, ERROLPIERRE.com, and the book, The Way Up, Climbing the Corporate Mountain as a Professional Color, is available anywhere books are sold. So you can get them Barnes & Noble, Target, Walmart, Amazon.com. You can get it anywhere. On social media, I'm Errol L. Pierre on all social media, ERROLLPIERRE.
All right, make sure you connect with us there, Errol, as well. It's both our names on social media as well, and on Instagram. I don't remember what it is. It's on the screen somewhere, but just connect with us and everything. Love it. The other thing that when you come back, think about this, Errol Pierre. Why do you need to have your name as an LLC? That's another question coming up too, right? And that's important.
Sounds good.
People don't know about the tax write-off and all those different things. So we'll talk about that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for
joining
joining us.
us today.
Thank
Was
you.
a pleasure.
Thank you.
And by the way, remember, put on the calendar 1 month from today. 1 month from today, so you don't get too busy.
Okay.
All right, cool. All right. So there's so many things. So thank you, Dr. Pierre, for joining us. It is awesome. You are awesome. And thank you for being a positive Black man within our community. So many things are happening in our community, and unfortunately we don't have a lot of time to talk about that. But next weekend I have the big domino tournament coming up right here in Brooklyn. WorldDominoes.com will be presenting its first annual um,
All right.
domino tournament at 1330 Utica Avenue. So if you are a lover of dominoes, and you think you got game, come out. Even if you don't have no game, come out, play, entertain, say hello to somebody. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Friday is a get together social. Put on your clothes, come out, enjoy, and come and enjoy the dressy casual, and come and enjoy from 8 o'clock in the evening until the next day.
When is DJ Suge gonna be there? On Friday?
DJ Suge is there every night, every day. But Friday night is when he get to strut his stuff. Friday night, DJ Suge get to strut his stuff. 1330 Utica Avenue. For information, contact worlddominoes.com or info@worlddominoes.com. Info@worlddominoes.com. Dominoes is spelled with the ES, not just the S. Please put the E after the O, before the S. WorldDominoes.com. Please come out, enjoy. We're still looking for sponsorship. So if anything, just shoot an email at info@worlddominoes.com, and that's where you click on the site and register. So looking forward to seeing each and every.
And how can they register again?
Go to the website at worlddominoes.com. Worlddominoes.com. And if you're lucky, you can win some money. All right, so win some money at the game that you. It's never the professionals that win, because they always think they know too much. It's the people that can't read that win. And you're laughing. It's the people that read
I
when they
go
win.
up there and then I win, right?
Yeah, that's exactly correct. You win. All right. So come out and enjoy yourself for the weekend. Come support the World Dominoes. Come support me. Come support the individuals. Happy birthday again to my son, Garrick. You are awesome. Garrick is my most loving child. He's always come home. He gives daddy a hug, gives mommy a hug. The other day he walked up to mommy, unlike the rest of her kids, and she goes, "I love you, mommy." So he's just a loving one. I'm not saying the other ones don't love him, but he's the one that expresses himself more. He's much better than his father. I know that.
You know what? Before you leave, I want to say something. Happy birthday to your kids. Happy birthday to all the others. But yesterday I attended God Squad. Bias and Women at the Table was awesome event. So, ladies, go out there, go be a part of the discussions, be a part of the table. Get out there, and our guest today explained that it's not easy when you actually get to the table. Keep fighting your way up, like he
Stay at the
mentioned.
table. Absolutely.
Yes, just enter, make yourself available, work on those soft skills, because the hard skills we have, but the soft skills is
I
what
don't know
gets
about
you.
that part though, because I've sat in a meeting where.
Ooh, and
Look at that! The Parent Forum. The Parent Forum. By the way, is also co-sponsored by the Village, and I think Roderick Daly will be on that panel. I don't see his picture up there, but he'll be on the panel for the Parent Forum. Eventbrite registration. Oh, wait, there's one more which I totally forgot, but I think we have enough time for that. A couple things going on.
Stillwater Art Community. We are excited to have people join. You can register with the SKU. You could go to Eventbrite, and guess what? Learn some academic resources, guardian skills training, educational workshop, and come with questions, get answers. Come on out, parents and guardians and the community.
Your host with the most, Roger Taylor, will be talking about the importance of getting help for second language students, getting the educational push and the education background. Why is that so important? Along with some of the other questions. So we looking forward to working with the Parent Guardian Forum. What's the date?
April 1st from 12:30 to 3. Come on out.
Right. You notice she's having me coming out during the middle of the day. Right. And so God bless each and every one of you. Do enjoy your weekend. Anybody whose birthday I missed, I know I probably missed one. Hey, congratulations when it comes to my cousin. He's
Yes,
doing enough for this weekend.
congratulations.
He's doing
Safe
enough for this
travels.
weekend. All right.
Have fun. Come on back safely, okay? Have fun.
Yeah, my punk nephew Andre said he's not coming. You know.
So
So, Sophia, Andre, John, Dr. Brian. Oh, one thing before I go. Women's History Month. Remember, ladies, even if it's a guy that is in the history book, the only thing I know for sure in life is that every person that was born has a mother. The father might not be able to claim, but the mother definitely can, because she's the one who gave birth. So just give thanks to yourself for the work that you did to help that person on the road of success, because without your first nurturing, your first teaching, nobody will get anywhere. So to my mom, all the women in my family, to my wife, to my aunt, to Dr. Brian, and every other woman, Sophia, please note that you are appreciated, you are loved. Happy Woman History Month. God bless.
thank you.
All
Good
right.
evening. Take care.
All right. Yeah. So thank you for watching, viewing, sharing, listening to The Village. Remember, we are on the 1,000 person subscription. So we're dedicated to empowering the community to live a healthy, safe, and financially capable life through education. God bless. Enjoy your weekend.
Yay.